Hey worship leader, welcome back to the channel. Alright, today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. There's a specific video on a friend of mine's YouTube channel that seems to be getting a lot of heat, a lot of negative comments, a lot of dislikes, and it's all centered around pedal boards for worship. Now, if you've been around the channel at all, you know that I'm into pedal boards. If we've never met, my name is Jimmy Cooper and I created Hey Worship Leader to be a resource. I started this channel to help worship leaders. We talk about how to pastor your people, how to lead your teams well, and we also talk about gear. If you are new here and you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I look at my YouTube analytics all the time and it says that like 70 to 80% of the viewers of this channel are not subscribed. So if that's you, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new videos come out. I'm putting out like 2 videos a week, so you don't want to miss any of that. But right now, I need to find out what is so wrong with this particular video over on the channel called Practical Worship by my friend Dave Dolphin. I've never seen this video. This is a true reaction video, but I have read through some of the comments and boy, is there some heat over there. There are a few supportive people over there, but there are a lot of people hating on this video. So like I said, this is a true reaction video. We're gonna watch it together, we'll pause it, talk about it, comment, and I want you to do the same thing. As we go through the video, let me know down in the comments what you think, things that you agree with, things that you're like, I definitely don't agree with that, and just your overall feeling as we watch this video. All right, let's dive in. I gotta get my good mic set up. I always find that there's always stuff on my shirt after I recorded a video. I recorded a video last week and there was like a hair, big old hair just dangling off my shoulder. Luckily it was only for a few clips, but I was like, oh, I didn't know. Does that sound better? All right, we're all set up, here we go. The title of the video is A Tour of Our Church Electric Guitar Setup. Sounds easy enough. Let's do it.
Hey, it's Dave Dolphin at practicalworshipblog.com, sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. Today,
man, good intro, Dave. Yes, we know exactly what we're going to be getting into.
Okay, giving you a tour of our electric guitar position here at the church. Now, one of the things I should probably mention up front is that we provide all the backline for the instrument positions here at the church. So that's pretty common to maybe have a drum set that you have all of the drummers use. It might actually be pretty common to have a church keyboard that all the keyboard players use. But when it comes to the electric guitar player position, it's pretty unusual to say, hey, we own the pedals and we own the amp and we want you to play that. But we do that for 3 reasons.
Okay, let's stop right there. So, did you hear what he said? They provide drums, which I think is pretty normal, provide a keyboard, but they also provide the backline amps and the pedal board for their worship ministry. What do you think about that? Let me know down in the comments. I'll say up front, I also as a worship leader provide those things. We provide the drum set, we have a church bass if they want to use it, we have the keyboard, and not long ago I actually made a video showing you our church pedal board. We also provide a church pedal board. You can go check that video out here if you want to see what's on that board, but let's hear what he has to say.
Being consistency. We can swap out different players weekend to weekend and still maintain the same sound because we have the same gear. Now I know different players are going to bring different nuances, different techniques to the instrument, just like different drummers are going to play the same drum kit differently, and it's going to have different nuances. But by and large, having the same gear here allows us to have a consistent sound from weekend to weekend. Number 2, being that it does eliminate the time wasters, at least a lot of them, when it comes to rehearsal. You're not, if you're bringing in different gear and different pedals and amps and things like that every single weekend, it eliminates the spending 30 minutes trying to figure out where a hum is coming from, only to find out that some boutique pedal that a guy got in a different country doesn't like the lights. It's happened. Number 3 is that it opens up possibilities for younger players, maybe those in your student ministry, youth ministry, even adults who don't necessarily have the budget for pro gear, but they have the chops. You provide an avenue that they can play and you're not strapped to their budget. They still have access to pro gear even if they can't afford it.
Okay, let's talk about it. 3 things. He gave 3 very clear reasons of why they do this. Let's process it. The first one was consistency. So it sounds like if you play at this church, you're gonna be playing through this board. I gotta wrap my head around that for a second. So he compared it to the fact that a drummer is gonna be unique even on the same kit because he plays a little differently. Same is true with the guitar player. They're gonna have unique sounds based on how they play even through the same setup. the thing about the electric guitar world that I know is that people's pedal choices and guitar pickup choices, that's all like nuanced stuff that is usually connected to them as an individual. So I can see some pushback on that point. Yeah, maybe. But I also get it, consistency of sound, because he said, you know, things have happened. And I think that was point 2, right? He said it eliminates the time it wastes to try to figure out a noisy part of a signal chain, which I get that as well. And then what was the third part?
Budget for pro gear, but they have the chops.
Oh yes, providing pro gear for those in your church who don't have the budget, don't have the gear, but are able to play. This is the main reason I provide it at my church, is because we have some youth that are just starting to learn electric guitar. We have some acoustic players who were wanting to understand and grapple with what effect pedals were and figuring out delays. And so I wanted to provide it for them so they could try it out in rehearsal or try it out on a Sunday. The difference here is mine is more of a resource. It's not like the first 2 points. If they have their own stuff, then I let them play their own stuff. It's more just there if they don't have it. So let's keep going.
You provide an avenue that they can play, and you're not strapped to their budget. They still have access to pro gear, even if they can't afford it. So we'll start here at the pedal board. Now,
okay, so here's the signal chain. Let's see this board.
Our vision for this was that we wanted something that was simple enough that if you weren't familiar with it, you could start playing with it and get up and running pretty quickly and not be swimming in a sea of pedals and whatnot. But it needed to be complex enough that it had all the tools and textures and tones and things you would need to play our style of music. And
before we keep going, let me go down to the comments real quick and just read some of this stuff. Like, we already see this video has 435 likes. I have not liked or disliked yet. We will wait and see. But 196 dislikes. That's a good bit, but it's got a lot of views, and a lot of people dislike stuff just because it's amazing. I never dislike a video, but that's just me. Only true guitarists will dislike this video. I don't know if I'm a true guitarist or not. That is a sad board. Well, we're about to find out. I like the idea of having a pedal board for someone who doesn't have their own. Yeah, me too. Let's see, micromanage much? Seems pretty passive aggressive. Okay, this is the saddest video I've ever watched. I would certainly never play guitar at that church. Wow, we have some very strong opinions. Andrew Brown, that's a great way to destroy creativity. Dave, you are a destroyer of creativity. How do you feel? Surely musicians should have the encouragement to be the individual they were created to be. Sure, have the gear there for those who can't afford it, but the command to use what is provided for you is insane. You are now commanded to use this gear. I mean, I get it. Maybe. Josh, gross. Just gross. And 11 people like that comment. I gotta admit, it's a good setup. Oh, there's some encouragement. But I really feel that the whole rig must be personal choice. If they have good gear, let them use it. Feels too controlling. Okay. What do you think? There's a million comments. You can go look up this video, watch it for yourself. What do you think? Is having a pedal board at the church a generous thing to do? Making sure it's consistent, you show up, you know it works. It can be troubleshot throughout the week if there's some fuzzing going on. It provides it for people who don't have the gear. Is that a good thing? Is it too controlling? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. All right, let's continue on with this video. Let's see what the signal chain is.
So this is what we arrived at, and when we were putting this together, we enlisted the help of our current players, and they got to speak into this quite a bit because...
Okay, so that's the next thing I was wondering. They got the electric guitar players at their church having input on what goes on this board. That's definitely a plus.
If you're going to ask someone to play you know, gear that's not their own, especially a guitar player, we wanted to make sure that they had input and we're able to speak into the decisions. This is the Ernie ball volume pedal, and we do start with that first for no other reason than it's just easier to get to that jack as far as plugging your guitar in. And we mainly use the volume pedal for like swells and stuff like that, so it works fine for us.
Okay, pause. Cool. They have the Ernie ball volume pedal. They put it at the front of the chain mainly for just because it's easy to get the jack there. If you're into pedal boards at all, you may know that a lot of people, a lot of guitar players don't like the volume pedal coming first. They like to put their volume pedal after their compression and overdrive in their signal chain, because when you pull back on the volume pedal in front of an overdrive, it actually takes away the gain of that overdrive, where if you keep the volume pedal after your overdrives, it retains the gain and the tone, and you're just bringing down the volume. So it is just a preference thing, but if you're showing up and you're not used to it, you might be thinking, oh, that's not how I would run it. But anyways, that's how this board is run. Let's see what's next.
That goes into the...
I see they got the Altoids little tin there, of course. Definitely gonna have that, but this one's the cinnamon. Oh, little cinnamon smalls. Okay, Dynacomp MXR.
Compressor, the MXR compressor, and then that goes into the Polytune. Again, the reason the tuner...
All good stuff. Compressor, it's a decent compressor. I've never run it. I've heard good things about it. I've seen it on a million boards, so tried, tested, and true. I'm sure there's better ones out there, but for a church board, good to go. Polytune, great tuner.
After the Polytune, we go to our 2 drives here. The main drive we use is the Voodoo Labs Sparkle drive, and I love how this sounds. There's nothing else like it, and I really think it's a pretty drive. But we also have this booster here, this EP booster, and so this gives it a little bit of a crunch. That gives us a lot more crunch, and then together gives us a lot of crunch, so it gives you 3 levels of drive.
So, we got the tuner, we got all that stuff. Sparkle drive, I've never had any of these pedals so far, but I've seen these pedals on a lot of boards, so the same thing. Tried, tested, and true. I like how they have the boost going into the overdrive. That's how my overdrive is set up. I have my overdrive, but then you can click on a boost and boost that overdriven signal to get even more overdrive. You can do them independently or together. So he's got 3 different sounds. That's a good way to set it up. I like that.
Now that goes into this M9 here that we are using strictly for delays and reverbs. And the way we have this set up is we treat it like 6 different textures, and we don't variate from these 6 very often, if at all.
And the cool... Okay, we'll stop it right there. I've never played through any of the Line 6 stuff before the HX Stomp. The HX Stomp was my first Line 6 experience. I love it, and so yeah, I don't know this piece of gear. So if I were showing, I'm putting myself in a volunteer shoe. If I were showing up at this church and I had to use this, I hope that I would enjoy these sounds. Hopefully they've been dialed in by the guitar players there that know what they're doing, and maybe I could get used to it. But I mean, the delays on here, how long are the tails? Is it easy to adjust? I'm sure it is, but as someone who's never played through this unit, and here's my biggest thing, if this board stays at the church, how am I supposed to get used to it? Am I supposed to show up to rehearsal and then get used to this piece of gear? Or I'm just not supposed to touch it and just go with it, and if it sounds funky, it sounds funky. I don't know about that. Was there a tap tuner on here? Maybe the hold for loop? Oh yeah, there's the tap down there. So you could tap it in. I guess they've already kind of figured out, that's the thing, different songs call for different lengths of delays. Even if they're tapped out right, the parts might be different. You know, if you're playing a lot of single note stuff, you want the repeats on that delay to maybe be longer, where if you got a lot of notes, you don't want the repeats to be in so long. So that would be something you need to adjust, maybe from week to week, but then another volunteer comes in the next week and they might just be different. So, I don't know. Let's keep going.
And the cool thing about this is that, and this, if I have a player that I tell them, hey, I want you to come play, but you have to use our gear, and they're not sure about it, when I tell them this one thing, this usually seals the deal. I'm like, okay, that's cool. This right here is a MIDI cable that comes from our Ableton Live rig. We run tracks,
okay,
which means the songs have set tempos, and that MIDI cable is setting the tempos for the delays. And so you can tap if you want to, but you don't have to. They're automatically set, and when the new song comes on in the series of songs you're doing, it resets the tempos for the delays, and you never have to tap them, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now it doesn't account for the length of the delay, how many repeats there are, but the fact that whoever's controlling Ableton, whether it's the drummer or keyboard player, as soon as they switch to the next song, all of your BPMs in this unit automatically change. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
The final stop on the board is this radial SGI box.
Yeah, these are nice because if you were to just run your instrument cable all the way back there, the 40 feet, if you even had one that long, you would lose a lot of tone. So this helps you not lose so much tone on long runs. It seems like they thought of everything. I mean, I wouldn't have too much to complain about except showing up and maybe not knowing the gear. All right, we got a few minutes left. Let's see what else they talk about.
All right, next stop is the amp. Let's go check that out.
Yeah, the amp. Nice backstage. Boxes.
So backstage is where we keep the electric guitar amp, and here's the other SGI box that receives this microphone signal. This is the AC-15. It's a C1. It is a tube amp. It's not solid state. We have not done any mods to it. We haven't changed out the speakers or anything like that. This is pretty much fresh out of the box.
I mean, the fact that they're providing really good gear is great. You know, if you were being forced to play something that was just cheaply done or something that's a pedal you've never heard of before, but everything in this rig is stuff that's like, that's go-to gear. So I wouldn't have too much to complain with. Great sounding amp for sure.
Now you might notice this amp that is over here. This is also a Vox amp, but this is, it's actually got 2 speakers in it, and it is solid state. We use this purely for backup. So this is for those situations where 10 minutes before service, you blow a tube or something just doesn't sound right. We can very quickly take this cable and plug it into here, and with minimal fuss, still be able to carry on the service. Now, this is not an amp that we necessarily picked out. This just happened to be something that we found backstage in our student area. It's probably not one that I would have picked for myself, but something is better than nothing.
Wow, I mean, yeah. I mean, you're at a church. I said this in my last video. A lot of times at churches, you know, our expectations are high, but budgets are low. And the fact that they even have an extra amp if something goes wrong is pretty cool, even if it's not the amp that you would want. I mean, obviously, you would probably want the same exact amp or some other backup, but the fact that there is a backup and something, you show up and something goes wrong and you just can't play anymore, they've got it taken care of. Good job, Dave. Good job.
I'm a big believer in redundancy, and because if it can fail, it will fail.
I mean, he's on top of it. He's been around the block. He knows what's going on. He's exactly right. Like, just seeing this makes me feel more comfortable. Like, the fact that they put this much thought into it, I could definitely serve at this church, even if I had to adjust my thoughts around like not bringing in my own gear. The fact that he is taking care of the volunteers, that is something that is very important to me. That's one of my New Year's resolutions is for this year, to take care of my volunteers even more than I have been doing. I think you value your volunteers. I can't talk. If you value your volunteers, you just have a way better team experience. They show up, they're ready to worship. I think this is great.
Now, we do allow our electric guitar players to play their own guitars.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Finally, they have some of their own choice. They get to bring their own guitar. I'm just being funny, but that's one thing we don't provide as a guitar, because usually that's kind of the same thought I had, is like, we have a pedal board if you don't have one to use. We also have a church amp. We run a Fender Blues Jr., but I don't have a church guitar yet. I mean, it would be a goal of mine to have one as a backup, but usually people have their own guitar. Let's see what he says. He said he's about to say for 2 reasons, I think.
2 reasons. One, that's a pretty intimate relationship between a person and their electric guitar.
It is, but I would say it's just as intimate for a lot of people and their pedals. I mean, all right, what was number 2?
Naturally knowing where frets are and things like that. So we understand that. But also, 2, some sets and some songs call for different guitars. For example, a song might call for a Strat if you're playing like real chinky 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 up here.
Chinky 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 needs the Strat.
Other songs might call for a PRS, something that's a little bit more meaty. And so we've been known to switch out guitars based on sets and sometimes even songs. But we did want to have a guitar that was church-owned for those cases where you've got someone in the youth group that has a $100 guitar, really good chops, but a really bad sounding guitar. We have something that they can use and play. It's going to have quality sound. We're going to get good audio out of it and still be able to utilize that person. So we have a Fender Telecaster. This is an American Tele. And I like that it has the different kinds of pickups here. And you can switch between those. It's a real jack of all trades type guitar. We wanted something that if we're going to have one guitar, how much coverage, how many different styles can we cover with that one guitar? So
see, they're still thinking of everything. I love it. Like a church that is having a worship leader who thinks about even the pickups in a church guitar. Like, that's awesome. Dave.
If you need something that's kind of bright sounding, you got a pickup for that. If you need something that's a little bit more meatier, you have that as well. And it's just a really pretty sounding guitar. So that's a quick tour of our electric guitar player position here at the church.
All right, so what'd you think? I mean, cool. Like, it's cool. I think that providing all that stuff, like I said, they thought through a lot of details. Backup amp, they thought through every pedal in the signal chain. It may not be the way I would do it, but they've thought through it all, and that has to count for something. On the other hand, I can kind of see where the hate is coming from, like someone who spends a lot of time thinking about my tone and showing up ready to do what I'm prepared to do and sound the way I'm gonna sound. I understand that as well, but I'm also a worship leader, and I've had people show up with gear that just didn't work, and I was like, man, we wasted a lot of time fixing amps and wondering what's wrong, and be like, I'm sorry, bro, we got to keep going. You know, if you can't figure out your stuff, that's part of being on the worship team, is having, I actually put that in my audition form, is having gear that is upkept and is sure to work. So I really, as a leader, understand being able to provide something like that. The difference between the way I would do it and the way Dave is doing it is that they don't have the option. It doesn't sound like you come in, you're playing this rig. And so I wonder how you feel. Let me know down in the comments. I'm still on the line, but I would not. There were several comments that say I wouldn't be able to serve at this church, or yuck, or whatever. Like, I've been a volunteer. I'm on staff, but I've been a volunteer for years, and I would definitely, seeing the effort they put in, seeing the heart behind Dave as a leader to provide a really good experience, I could definitely serve there for sure. I would say check your heart if you can't serve there, but that's just my opinion. You may have yours. Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, let me know by hitting that thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, like I said, a lot of people they don't subscribe. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I'm too old for this.